award millions of dollars annually to deserving students who might not otherwise be able to go to college. And they recognize outstanding faculty through the Endowed Teaching Chair program. This gymnasium and our fields
Students, faculty, and guests of Broward College. My name is Darnell Joseph, President of the Honors College, and I have been given the esteemed privilege to introduce your 2016 presidential candidate, Mrs. Hillary Clinton. Allow me to tell you a little about myself. I was born and raised in Florida, like many of you here today. But, like many of you as well, I was also born and raised in a Democratic supporting household. Now, when I was younger, I never took much interest in who was running for president, because it was my belief that since my family supported Democrats, that whoever aligned with the Democratic Party was going to receive our vote regardless. It wasn't until my 12th grade year at South Plantation High School where I met my AP government teacher, Mrs. Smith, who challenged her students to not only look into what being a Democrat or Republican means, but also to research the candidates who are going to be influencing the policies that are going to influence and ultimately decide what is going to happen within the future. So, with that, I can proudly stand here and say that I choose Hillary. There are several reasons why I choose to vote for Hillary Clinton. She believes in a country where everyone has a fair shot at success, regardless of their race, gender, or circumstances into which they were born into. She supports comprehensive immigration reform that will allow the cultural diversity that made this country great continue. She supports student loan reform for students just like you and I to get an education without paying for it for the rest of our lives. And above all else, she will keep this nation safe and strong. In 2008, we the people made history and elected the first African American to hold office as President of the United States. I was too young in 2008 and again in 2012 to help elect Barack Obama president. But I have good news. I turned 18 this past November. And now have my chance to make history by voting for Hillary Clinton, who with our help will become the first female president of the United States. Ladies and gentlemen, it is my honor and privilege to present to you my choice to be the Democratic Party's nominee and our next president.
This great campus, 30,000 students here. And I want to thank Darnell for introducing me. I'm so grateful to him for what he said about his choice, and I thank all of you for being here to help us get organized in Florida so we win the primary and then we win. I think Congressman Ted Deutsch is here, and I want to thank all the other elected officials. It's exciting for me to have this opportunity to talk to you about this campaign, to really raise a lot of the issues that are most important, I think, to the country's future and really to all of you. But I also want to thank you for doing what Darnell is doing, and that is registering to vote, being active in the campaign, working to elect your candidate, hopefully me, and talking to everybody you can about why this election is so important. Now, you know, there's a lot of issues to talk about. I want to say that my campaign is focused on making sure the economy works to raise incomes and provides jobs to everybody willing to work hard and do your part. I'm excited about that because I believe, and I say this because I know the facts back me up, the economy works better for America and Americans when we have a Democrat in the White House. And certainly, you can look at all of the statistics. They go back a long way. Unemployment is lower. Incomes are higher. Even the stock market is higher. And in fact, when a Republican is in the White House, you are 4 more times likely to have a recession. Now, I don't want to go all the way back to the beginning of our country to prove this. Let's just take the last 35 years. We've had 5 presidents, 3 Republicans and 2 Democrats. I am privileged to have known both of those Democrats. And I will tell you, each of them inherited economic problems from their Republican predecessors. Now, in my husband's case, it was a little matter of the national debt being quadrupled in just 12 years. From George Washington to Ronald Reagan, 2 world wars, a civil war, lots of other stuff going on, and then 2 terms of Ronald Reagan, 1 term of George H.W. Bush, and the entire debt was quadrupled. And the deficit had gone way up. And it looked like there were problems, recessionary problems, as they say, in the economy. So my husband took a look at all of that after he got elected. He said to me, it's so much worse than they told us. And somebody asked him, what do you think you uniquely bring to Washington? He paused and he said, arithmetic. We're going to get this to measure up again and work for Americans. And at the end of 8 years, We had 23 million new jobs. And most importantly, incomes went up for everybody, not just people at the top, people in the middle, working people, poor people. And we ended up with a balanced budget and a surplus. Well, along came another Republican president. And they went back to the failed policies of trickle-down economics, didn't they? So at the end of 8 years, the deficit was back up, the debt was back up, and we were facing the worst financial crisis since the Great Depression. And then they took their eye off the financial markets and the mortgage markets, and you know what happened. Now, shortly after the 2008 election, I got a call from President-elect Obama. He asked me to come see him in Chicago. I didn't know why. It turned out he wanted me to be Secretary of State. Which was very exciting and a big honor, but when I got there, it was just he and I. He looks at me and he goes, "It's so much worse than they told us." You know, I've heard that before, and indeed it was. We were losing 800,000 jobs a month. The auto industry was tottering on the brink of collapse. All those jobs all the way down the supply chain. And the president-elect said, "We got problems around the world, and we have big problems here at home to get this economy out of the ditch." So that's why he said, "You go deal with all the Secretary of State issues, and I'm going to focus on the economy." And that's what we did, and that's what he did. You know, the Republicans want us to have a case of collective amnesia and forget it was their failed policies that put us in that big ditch. So now we have dug our way out. We've recovered 13 million jobs. We have had good growth rate this last quarter. So we're standing, but we're not yet running again. Now, I'm not running for my husband's third term or President Obama's third term. I'm running for my first term, but I'm going to do what works for the economy of the United States. We've got to get wages going up again. People have to feel that their hard work is actually producing something for them and their families. Now, obviously, we have to raise the minimum wage. Nobody who works full-time on a minimum wage should be mired in poverty. But we have to do more than that. We've got to do more to actually incentivize profit sharing. So when people work hard and their work helps produce profits, those profits are shared not just with the CEOs, but with the workers who actually help to produce them. So I've got a whole economic plan that is focused on raising incomes. That is my mission when it comes to the economy. And I want to also see us create some really good jobs for people again. How are we going to do that? Well, one of the ways we're going to do it is we're going to combat climate change by transitioning to clean energy jobs and businesses. And you know, if anybody should be supportive of this, it ought to be the people in Florida. Because you all are on the front lines of all these weather-related events. But we don't have to be pessimistic about it. Let's just be determined about it. You know, some states are really already moving toward clean, renewable energy. I spent a lot of time in Iowa, as you might guess. And they are already getting 30% of their electricity from wind. I just came from Massachusetts, which is not known as a sunny community. It shouldn't be seen as a drag. It ought to be seen as a way to lift our sights and do what we should do and actually create jobs, businesses, make money doing it. Now, I've set 2 big goals. As president, I want to see us, by the end of my first term, have installed 500 million more solar panels. And by the end of my second term, enough clean energy to power every home in America. That's what we need to do. I'm excited by this challenge. And I want everybody to really think about what you can do in your home, in your business, working at your city, your state, and at the national level. Something else we're going to do to create jobs, I want to have what's called an infrastructure bank. a way to fund doing what we ought to do to build, maintain, and repair roads, but not just roads. We have bridges that are falling apart. We have sewer lines, water lines, gas pipelines. We have a lot of work to do in this country, and it's good work. And we're ignoring it. Now, I know probably some of you originally are from New York, a state I was privileged to represent in the United States Senate. And, you know, a lot of our infrastructure is 70 to 100, even 150 years old. Some of the tunnels, some of the pipes and other things going under the ground, they're old. And some of them are even exploding. You might read about that from time to time. And we end up paying for it one way or the other. You got to get ahead of it. And then I also believe that if we are serious about growing our economy and increasing incomes, then we finally, once and for all, have to make sure women get equal pay for equal work. You know, that's right. Let's break that glass ceiling, but let's break it in every business, in every workplace in America. Nobody who works should be disadvantaged. And I get letters all the time from women who are really frustrated. They're helping to support their families, or maybe they're the sole support, and they tell me their stories. And they ask what to do and how they can be treated fairly and equally. I want to make this point. This is a woman's issue because women are disadvantaged, but it's a family issue and it's an economic issue. We will grow our economy more if we actually do what we should be doing anyway. Now, the Republicans are always saying, whenever I talk about this, there she goes playing the gender card. Well, I'll tell you, if advocating for equal pay for equal work is playing the gender card, deal me in, because that is the game I will play. Now, because the economy is the central focus of what I want to do as president, everything else kind of adds up to that. Education, for example. I want to make sure we do what we must to improve elementary and secondary education. And I think the best way to begin is by actually listening to and respecting teachers who are in the classroom. They're the ones who are there with the kids all day. They're the ones who have the ideas. They should be first in line, and they'll be around any table I'm at to help me figure out what we do. But we will not be as competitive educationally as we want to be if we don't have early childhood education. Those first 5 years of life set up little kids to be successful or not. Now, look, I have this amazing, wonderful grandchild. And we read and talk and sing to her all the time. My kid would say, you know, her first words are going to be enough with the reading and the talking and the singing. But we do it because we love to do it, and we do it because we know it literally builds brain cells. 80% of your brain is physically formed by the age of 3. I want every kid to have the same shot, the same chance to be successful in school. We need a universal pre-kindergarten program, and we need to start with kids who have the biggest challenges, who have the biggest disadvantages and obstacles to overcome, so that every kid has a level playing field to climb that ladder of opportunity. You know, I think every person should have the same right to live up to his or her God-given potential. And I happen to think talent is universal, even though opportunity isn't. So I'm going to do all I can to make sure our smallest, our youngest citizens have a chance. And then on the other end, we are going to make college affordable again. And we are going to give all of you the chance to refinance your student debt and bring down the cost for things. It's just not right. If you can refinance your mortgage or your car payment, why can't you refinance your student debt? And I don't believe government should be making a profit off of lending you money to pursue your education. And it won't surprise you to know I'm a big fan of community colleges, and I'm going to do everything I can to make sure we implement President Obama's plan to make community college free so that you can afford to go. Now, when it comes to health care, I'm going to defend the Affordable Care Act. Right? I'm going to defend it because it's working. Nearly 18 million people are getting health care. And young people get to stay on their parents' policies until they're 26, which is a very big help to a lot of the families that I meet with. But you got to bring the costs down. Out-of-pocket costs are too high. And prescription drug costs, they went up 12% last year. They are skyrocketing. So I have put forth a plan to bring them down. Now, a lot of the drug manufacturers aren't happy with me. But it was kind of interesting that when I rolled my plan out, it was the very same day that a guy who'd been a hedge fund manager who took over a company called Turing Pharmaceuticals decided to raise the price of a life-saving drug from $13.50 a pill to $750 a pill. A 5,000% increase. We can't sustain that. We have got to get a handle on prescription drug costs, and we've got to finally make it possible for Medicare to negotiate with drug companies to bring the price down. Just think about this for a minute. You know, taxpayers, you and I, we pay for the NIH, we pay for some of the clinical trials that are conducted, we pay for the FDA, which decides whether a drug is safe and effective, and then we pay the highest prices for those drugs. If you're in Canada, you get a negotiated price. If you're in Europe, if you're in Australia, but not in America. Some of you, maybe you're from northern New York. When I was your senator, I used to go up to the border, and I would see busloads of people crossing the border to buy the very same drugs for a lower cost. We cannot continue to pay the highest price for the drugs we pay to help be developed. We have got to rein this in. I have a plan to do that. And let me say, when you think about the Affordable Care Act, it is distressing to me that Florida, among some other states, refused to expand Medicaid to cover more people. In fact, I'm looking here, it said in Florida, as many as 650,000 people could have gotten coverage under Medicaid. Fewer people without insurance means fewer people who get preventive care. More visits to the emergency room. It makes no sense economically. And I would hope that Florida would reconsider that, but your governor and the Republicans in Tallahassee, they said no. They said no to savings, no to families, no to fairness. And to make matters worse, because they said no and refused to expand Medicaid, people are suffering. Particularly working poor people, people of color, people who are disproportionately left out. It makes no economic sense, let me tell you. It makes none. The states that have expanded it, they are actually seeing lower insurance rate increases, and they're not seeing as many emergency room visits and other expensive problems. So I'm not going to let the Republicans kill the Affordable Care Act. They voted to repeal it 54 times. I will certainly stand in their way, but I want to improve it. That's why I am going to tackle out-of-pocket costs and prescription drug costs. And there are three other issues that I want to mention. One, we're having a caregiving crisis in this country, and it's only going to get worse. Alzheimer's, autism, people who need care. Families are taking care of their loved ones, aren't they? I bet some of you are, or somebody in your family is. We give so little help. We need respite care. We need quality, affordable daycare. Let's finally help the caregivers get the care they need to take care of their loved ones. And secondly, have a substance abuse epidemic in America. Opioids, heroin, meth, other prescription drugs, and people are dying. We lose 18 to 22 veterans a day from suicide. A lot of them came back and they didn't get the care they needed, but they got handed a bunch of pills. And they got hooked. So our job has to be to figure out how to get more prevention, more treatment, more support, so that people can get into recovery. Right now, 23 million people who are addicted, only 1 in 10 can get any coverage. So I also think we've got to do more to have parity with mental health. Untreated mental health is an expensive problem, and a lot of people end up in prison because they have mental health problems that are not treated, and they self-medicate using alcohol or drugs. So these are expensive and heartbreaking problems. But I'm convinced that we can tackle them together. I'm also convinced that we're going to have to stand up for our fundamental rights. So I will defend a woman's right to choose, and I will fight against defunding Planned Parenthood. And I will defend and fight for marriage equality and against discrimination. And I will fight for voting rights for everybody and against states that are trying to restrict them. And I will fight to overturn Citizens United, which has opened the door to charge unaccountable money. I will fight to get comprehensive immigration reform because I believe it's in the best interest of our country. I will fight for criminal justice reform and to move away from mass incarceration because Black lives matter. And I will tell you, I am going to fight for new, effective gun control measures. I gotta tell you, it is just heartbreaking. It is sickening to me to see another massacre. People should not have to be afraid to go to college like this one, or go to the movie theater, or go to Bible study. What is wrong with us that we can't stand up to the NRA and the gun lobby and the gun manufacturers? You know, this is not just tragic. We don't just need to pray for people, we need to act. And we need to build a movement. It's infuriating. Every time there's another massacre, Republicans in the NRA say, now is not the time to talk about guns. Yes, it is. But more than talk, it is time to act. But Republicans keep refusing to do anything to protect our communities. They put the NRA ahead of American families. It is wrong, and we need to make every politician who sides with them to look into the eyes of parents whose children have been murdered and explain why they listen to the gun lobbyists instead. Now, I'm well aware that this is a political mountain to climb. But you don't get anything done in this country if you don't start by calling it out. And we have had too many murders, too many people who should have never gotten guns in the first place, taking out whatever their rage, their fury, their mental problems are by killing other people. And I will, as your president, never relent on trying to work on this, but we need a national movement. You know, here's what the other side counts on. I don't think they represent a majority of Americans or even a majority of gun owners. But they count on really having an intense dedicated group that scare politicians and say, we will vote against you. From people on the other side who are heartsick, heartbroken, disgusted, care about a lot of other issues. We care about college affordability and prescription drug costs. We are not single-minded voters. But each of us has to care about this issue. There are a lot of ways for us to have constitutional, legal gun restrictions. My husband did it. He passed the Brady bill, and he eliminated assault weapons for 10 years. So we're going to take them on. We took them on in the 90s. We're going to take them on again. And I will need your help to do that. So we have a lot of work to do. That's why we're getting started here in Florida, here at Broward College. And I want each and every one of you to be involved in this campaign. Because I do think we have to have an agenda for change, and then we have to reach as many people as we can to make the case for the kind of change we want to see. To build on what has worked and to take it further. And not let the Republicans rip away the progress with their out-of-date, out-of-touch ideas and turn us back. Now, I'm also well aware we have challenges around the world. That's why I think my experience as Secretary of State, as a senator from New York, is especially pertinent to what we're going to have to do to make sure we remain safe and secure, we lead with our values and in pursuit of our interests. But at the end of the day, I have to tell you, for me, what gets me up and keeps me going is the thought about my granddaughter, and not just what kind of life she'll have, because we're going to do everything we can to make her life as positive as it can be. But that's not enough. What kind of country will she become an adult in? What kind of world will be waiting for her? You know, I'm the granddaughter of a factory worker. My grandfather went to work in the Scranton Lace Mills in Scranton, Pennsylvania. He worked hard. And he did it to support his family, but also because he wanted his sons to have a better life. And in fact, they did. They all went to college. My dad became a small businessman. It was a really small business. But he worked hard, gave us a good middle-class lifestyle. And here I am, third generation, asking you to vote for me for president. That's what's supposed to happen in America, whatever your dream might be. So I don't think it's enough that my granddaughter will have opportunities. It's not enough that the granddaughter of a former president or former Secretary of State has a chance to live up to her potential. This should also apply to the granddaughters of factory workers and the grandsons of truck drivers and every other young person in America. And if I am your president, I will get up every single day working to make sure every child and every young person has that chance to live up to his or her God-given potential. If you help me, that is what we will do together. Thank you all very much.